Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everyone to CarnivorousGrama Speaks Women of Wisdom series. Tonight, I'm super excited to be here with my friend Rachel. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. Welcome. We're so glad that you are here. Rachel's from 2KrazyKetos. I don't know if you guys probably already know who she is, right? Anyway, I'm going to start out with my scripture as always. I have this scripture that I think is foundational to the Women of Wisdom series, and it's Proverbs 14:1. It says, "A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands." And I love it. It resonates for me as far as women who are making amazing choices for their household and for their family around food and eating. And so welcome to the show, Rachel. This is the Women of Wisdom series, and you are definitely a woman of wisdom. I will just say that I have been watching the 2KrazyKetos for many years, years. Like, you're an OG in this space, you and your husband. And so just want to have you go ahead, for anybody who like just climbed out from underneath the rock and doesn't know who you are. I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Robin. My name is Rachel Stauffer, and my husband and I make up the 2KrazyKetos. That's crazy with a K. And we have been following a ketogenic lifestyle. 10 years, going on 10 years for my husband, and I'm in my 9th year for me. And we have been so blessed to find this way of eating for so long. We were really just praying for help. My husband was in a debilitating car accident when he was young. And so he was able to walk with the aid of crutches. But if there was like long distance, required, we would have to utilize wheelchairs, motorized scooters, that sort of thing. And that was our life. And he was deteriorating over time. For me, I had a mental wellness journey that I would not wish on anyone. Like it was crazy for decades. And so when we came to keto, it was because my husband was involved in a weight loss bet at church. And so he was using keto. It was like the latest diet. And as somebody who were chronic dieters, we had tried it all, whether it was like dealer meal, cabbage soup diet, Stop the Insanity, Weight Watchers, anything, you name it, we tried it. And so he tried this and he lost some weight and he gained his mobility back, to the point where he was able to get rid of all medication. He no longer needed pain pills. And so I did not want my husband to stop doing what he was doing. So even though at the time we came to keto, I was following a very serious calorie restricted diet. Basically for 2 solid years, I ate nothing but 500 calories of oatmeal, because I was completely terrified of all food interactions. And I managed to gain 70 pounds doing that. So I wanted him to stay on this diet though for mobility. And so I jumped on with him and found that not only did I end up losing 170 pounds, but it allowed me to get off all medication. And it was just, it's amazing what this way of eating has done. We had no idea what nutrition could do. And it wasn't something special. It's not like I have to buy $500 a pound steaks. Hot dogs and mustard would do it. Even for a budget like ours, which we call not just a shoestring budget, but a flip-flop budget. And one of the flip-flops is blown out. And you could still eat this way and experience these health results. And so after he became well, I became well, my mother was able to reverse her type 2 diabetes of 25 years. We really wanted to share this with the world. And, initially our YouTube channel began because we were children's pastors and we were serving over 500 families at our church. And so all of a sudden, if Miss Rachel and Mr. Joe are cut in half, people want to know what you're doing. And we just found that it was easier for us to point people to YouTube videos that we would create of like basically what we were doing. And we never believed that we could reach beyond our local community. But we were so thankful for the opportunity to talk to other people all over the world, really. And so we finally made this our full-time job. It was very hard for us to leave ministry. I always, 30 years of serving children, but I thought this is the best way that we can continue to serve future generations is by helping their parents and grandparents to become well, because believe it or not, what children want more than anything is time with you, mom, dad,
Mm-hmm.
aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. And so if parents and grandparents get well, their kids and grandkids benefit from that.
Wow. So I remember when I started watching you, you guys were still in children's ministry. And like I said, I was telling you before we came on that I did keto as well. I did what I call 5 years of keto. Mm-hmm. And then I fell off the wagon with some sweet corn one summer. And then I did 5 years of Cheeto, and I could not get back on it. And I just struggled and struggled and struggled. But what I didn't realize, I guess, about, and you can talk a little bit more maybe about what you were eating at the time when you guys first got started. I love what you said about the affordability piece with, because I think people are afraid of things like bacon and hot dogs and bologna and Spam and all those kind of cheaper potted meat and Vienna sausages.
Right.
They're cheap, but they can do the trick actually, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were eating 500 calories a day. And I think you said you gained 70 pounds of eating oatmeal.
I did, because again, and sometimes we get fixated. We bring that calorie obsession into keto or carnivore, because I'm not the only person who's been chronically dieting, and it's not that I was broken or Joe was broken. It was that the food was broken. What we were eating was never going to work, no matter how beautifully it was packaged or how, it was claimed that it was health. That Nutri-Grain bar, those Cheerios, that canola oil was never going to speak health and life to my body. And so, but we did find meat, even the cheapest cuts of meat would do the trick. And so I love the fact that this is scalable for every budget. It doesn't matter if you are using assistance or you are a billionaire. This way of eating a fat-fueled nutrition, it's for you. It's for you. You can make it possible, and you can enjoy the health success that we have enjoyed. But yeah, before keto, I was positively fearful of food interaction. I thought I could not be trusted with things like hunger. And then when you add on my mental wellness journey, I really believed what all the doctors had proclaimed over me, that I had a broken brain. I had a brain that couldn't be trusted. So of course I couldn't be trusted in the kitchen. So I needed to have as simple a food interaction as possible and the least amount of food as possible. And so, yeah, I had mopped myself into a corner of 500 calories. And so I had put my body into a starvation mode. Initially, of course, you have weight loss because you've taken away the calories, but your body is like, the things that you're feeding me aren't nutrition. And we're obviously in a famine because I can't count on you giving me real food. And so I was completely inflamed, and my body was storing everything to try to save my life. And of course, we get mad. We get mad at our bodies. We get mad at hunger. We get mad at these signals. But you know what? This is what God gave us. It's not a curse to be hungry. This is what we're supposed to do. And as women, I think a lot of times we're hard on ourselves about needing to eat. And so I thought it was right and reasonable to be a woman who ate as little as possible. And even though I would see people who were on the television saying, you know, women are supposed to eat little tiny amounts like birds, I wasn't having the results that they were saying that they had.
You know, the funny thing is, that just brought back to my mind, my daughter, when she was in high school, she was a cheerleader. And I remember her saying that the girls would eat a napkin. They wouldn't eat food. They would just eat a napkin. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think that they were literally eating a napkin, but they literally were not eating enough food to sustain themselves. And the funny thing about that is I find it fascinating that at 500 calories, you can still gain a lot of weight when you're eating the wrong food. I just also wonder, like, what was going on with your brain at that time? Because we know that the brain needs fat. Now we're learning, right?
Right.
We've been learning over all this time. The brain needs fat. It needs protein. And so if you're just eating oatmeal, I could imagine that the brain was probably screaming out for help.
Depression, anxiety, social anxiety. I was being treated for bipolar, major depression. And it was, of course, symptoms were just getting worse. My skin was green. I lost all of my hair. My nails were terrible. My teeth, my gums, like everything begins to shut down. Your body is trying to save your life. And so when you're malnourishing it, like anything that isn't just this, like, you don't need hair to live. You don't need good skin to live. You know, you can constantly breaking out in every rash and still live, you know?
Alive,
so
yeah.
it was terrible. It was awful. I can remember, like, even when I initially lost weight before the gain, to where I'm over, 300 pounds, I put out all of my pictures, even my, like, oh my gosh, aren't I so cute? I've lost 100 pounds. Were black and white. You didn't want to see what I actually looked like in color because it was terrible, sick.
Well, you look great today. That's for sure.
Thank you. It's the meat. I can't take credit for it. It's the meat.
So tell us how that transition went. So, Joe found keto. He started it. You were still eating oatmeal. And then what happened? You decided to transition.
So the reason why Joe's had 10 years and I've had 9 is I started with him first, going from 500 calories a day to just like eating. I'm not counting the calories. I just start eating what he's eating. I initially started because I thought that'll save the marriage. If I am eating nothing and he is eating like burger patties with cheese melted all over it, like fatty deliciousness, like we're going to get a divorce, right? We're going to fight. And so I decided to go on that with him, and I did it for like a couple of months, and I got afraid and jumped off of it because I wasn't losing any weight. Now I'm not looking and saying, hey, dude, you've gone from 500 calories to probably 2,500 calories and I didn't gain any weight. But my mind was like, the only thing I want to see is something move down on the scale. We're always a lot of times looking at the wrong metric. We're looking at the wrong win. The thing that you're focused on is not the most important thing. So I jumped off for a while, but then jumped back on when Joe was able to deprescribe all of his medicine, because I was like, screw it. I just want to do this with him. And I think the biggest challenge for me was trusting myself with food. I had believed all of these crazy lies about myself, like everybody in my family is big boned. Like somehow you could look at our skeletons and our skeletons were like, giant bones or something, like I'm a dinosaur. Right. But I believed that. I believed that I was special in a negative thought. I thought that maybe I was just a person who was meant to have the blues. I was somebody that God couldn't trust. Like I would hear things. I mean, and that really hurts my heart when we're here. Women of faith say, God can't trust me to be thin. It's like, oh my gosh, he loves you so much. He does
Right.
not want you to believe these lies about yourself. But I believe that
Yes.
about myself. So I was very afraid to interact with the food still. So one of the deals that we made was I will go keto if he cooks all the food. And so he did.
Uh-huh.
And I will still say, ladies, guys lose pounds, women lose inches. So I got on the scale and was so freaking ticked off that I didn't see any pounds going down the scale, but I had gone down multiple dress sizes without losing weight, but it was happening. So I think it's really important that, especially for ladies, if you're getting started, be checking your clothes. How are they fitting? Do measurements on yourself. Also, what's your energy like during the day? Us women, we blame everything on like hormones, but if we're not fueling ourselves, then we have no fuel to run on. So once I started keto, all of a sudden, I didn't need that 2 p.m. coffee pick me up. I was authentically fueled and had energy that would burn, all throughout the day. So I think that was the strangest thing, was just my fear of interacting with food.
I think so many women struggle with this because we have really been taught. I think about the times when I was doing 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories and starving and just really literally ticked off because I was hungry.
Right.
And it just didn't make any sense. And it never was something that I could maintain. I'm like you. I did all the diets. I did everything, trying to lose weight. And I could really do a diet. Like, I was good at dieting. So if I need to lose 10 pounds, time to go on a diet. But then, after whatever that event was that I was losing the weight for, then I gain all the weight back and I have to start over again. And starting over again is so discouraging. But we have been trained to believe that we should eat a napkin. Like, we're not supposed to really eat that much. Be a little, they call it demure, be demure. And don't eat too much. And so I don't know if you found this same thing, but what I found with my ketogenic way of eating is that I could eat as much as I wanted until I was satisfied. And still my body was doing the thing, right? So like you said, like, the scale sometimes didn't really register exactly what I wanted it to do, but the clothes, my gold pants or whatever it is, those things would really start making the difference. The measurements, really.
It definitely does. And, there's something also that I don't think we talk about enough. And that is, if you've been a chronic dieter, like I have, so like every year there's a seasonality to it that you need to prepare yourself for, because this way of eating, this fat fueled way of eating, even though it changes, it evolves over time. What your pantry and refrigerator look like when you start keto or carnivore and what it looks like a year or two later is going to be different. But what's going to be missing that you've been used to, especially if I've been on a diet since I was 12, then there's a seasonality that all of a sudden is gone. So you're used to having 3 to 4 diets every single year that you kind of start to really talk about disorder, talk about a toxic relationship. You would get excited about the new way that you are going to hurt yourself, the new thing that you are going to do to restrict yourself, whether it is we're about to do this crazy exercise plan, or we are going to only eat cabbage soup, or we are going to do a point system. There was shopping trips, and there was planning, and there's binders and all of these things that you're used to. And it almost becomes how you mark when summer's about to come, or when we're about to go to the holidays. And so there's these starting points and ending points that we're used to throughout the year. And all of a sudden, this is a way of life. Those are gone. So now a lot of people, I find, get very antsy and they don't know why. They're like, I need to change things up. You don't need to change things up. What you're feeling is what you used to do every year. So my advice would be, start planning new adventures for yourself, not new ways to hurt yourself. What could you bless yourself with. Maybe, the next time you feel like, hey, it's time to start a new diet, you start painting, or you start hiking, or you start bowling, because that's going to actually be helpful and will expand. You'll have something to look forward to doing that's new, without setting a bomb off in your way of eating. If this proper way of nourishing your body is working, let's just keep going with that and find change and novelty some other area of our life.
I love that so much. The funny thing is, I literally was thinking about that today. Okay, it is February now. It's time to get ready for that summer body.
Right.
That is a old way of thinking. Like, it just automatically popped in my head today. Like, okay, what are we going to do to get ready for that summer body? Well, I'm already doing it as far as my nutrition is concerned. So yeah, there could be other ways. And I love that, that there are other things to think about besides what am I eating,
Right.
and treating yourself in other ways. Maybe you want to go get a massage. That'd be nice.
That is a great way to practice some self-care without like the cheap way we used to do it, which was a donut, a sugary drink. We would mom, we would wife all week long. And what I would settle for as far as treating myself was like a $3.14 donut through the drive-thru of Dunkin' Donuts. Like, we deserve better than that.
I completely agree. I was thinking about, I have a foundational scripture that is really for my whole, everything that I'm doing in this space. And it says, I can't think of where it is found right now, but it says, I would that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. And I think the thing of it is, those of us that are, believers, that are in faith, that we think about that faith, the soul prospering part, but we don't realize that the body is amazing. It's designed to heal itself, which is incredible. So, you talked about depression, bipolar, that food, the fuel that we're putting into our bodies can really impact every aspect of our lives, from the mental health, weight, all these different disease states. Like you talked about your mom's type 2 diabetes. That's not even something that's supposed to be reversible. And we're hearing so many incredible stories of people being in health, like regaining their health back. And that's incredible.
It really is.
You probably hear it all the time on your channel.
It never gets old. It's like miracles every day. I think sometimes, we all have this prayer when we're going through something, whether it is mental issues, which I like to call brain health. Mental illness is a brain health issue. We talk about inflammation in the body. My inflammation was in my brain. So, and we have a very unique journey. So my husband and I are both meat eaters, but I would say I'm probably a 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio versus my husband. And it's because of my brain health. Because like you were talking about, like my brain really functions on like higher fat, much better, because of my unique issues. For some people, a 1-to-1 protein to fat ratio works great. Some people, even there's been seasons of my life where it was more like a 3-to-1, because, my body was repairing after years and years of damage.
3 John 1 and 2. That's where that scripture. Thank you so much, Sarah Warren. I appreciate you. Yes. I can never remember that it's in 3 John. Yes, that's something that throws me off every time. So thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody's saying that a donut was like
3. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Like what 3, right? Because I've always been cheap with myself. And so and it's funny because why do we do that? Because we want to be that Proverbs 31 woman who is like and it's like, we have to make sure we are well. Right. Women of faith, you need to be there for your families. You need to prioritize your health. Sometimes we feel like we need to wait until our spouse is on board, until we try to do it if we can save our children. Also, be the lighthouse. Do the
Yes.
right thing as far as nourishing your body. Treat yourself well, nourish your body well. Don't worry if everybody in the house is not doing it yet. Be that person that they can look to and see that you're having results.
That's awesome. I mean, that's so true because, you know, the scripture that I read at the beginning, we are a light, we are like people are watching what we're doing. And looking at that to see what should I do?
Right.
Getting direction from that. So I love that. Be the lighthouse, you guys. Be the lighthouse. Okay. So I want to just talk a little bit about how things are different for you now than when you first started keto, as far as food and eating. How has have you guys transitioned to a carnivore way of eating? Did you go back and forth? Have you played around with that idea?
Oh, absolutely. So, as content creators, you're always trying to make things interesting, and you're trying to
Mhm.
be like our great hope is that we can be a blessing for the one more. That there's one more person. I see every single individual as my father. My father passed away from a widowmaker heart attack. We were not
Mm,
able to reach him. We hadn't started keto yet. So
yeah.
we were able to reach my mom, but we weren't able to reach my dad. And so I'm like, there's one
Wow.
more. There's one more lost sheep out there. And if we do something unique or interesting, if we find that keto recipe that's going to be like carnivore mac and cheese, somebody's going to latch onto that. Somebody's been going to look up lasagna. And this is going to be the thing that reaches them. So I'm always interested in the one more person and
Mhm.
making things interesting for them. Like recently, like just today, we released a video on dairy-free El Ruderai yogurt recipe because some people,
Nice.
they want dairy-free. So I'm like, I
I
don't
need
want
that.
it's so good. And so I don't want them to feel like they're price pointed out of it because it's affordable. You can make it at home. I don't want them to think that like, hey, I have issues with dairy, so I guess I can't go keto. So
Mhm.
sustainability is huge for us, and we're facilitators. So I want to facilitate whatever it is that somebody needs to be successful. And that's what really,
Wow.
blesses our heart. But when we started, we did watch content creators that made unique recipes. And we tried all the things, because now I'm allowed to eat more than oatmeal. So it's like the whole world is new to me. And we don't realize how badly carbohydrates and sugar specifically numb our senses and dull us. And so as the brain fog is lifting and my brain is healing and my taste buds are alive, you do want to taste a variety of things. And
Mhm.
when you're coming from a diet background, you also want the list. What are the list of the things I'm allowed to eat? And let's move those things in combination, right? And so we use things like fat bombs, and we made keto desserts, and we did all kinds of different casseroles and salads, and we made every type of keto bread there could be. And so we've tried a lot of things, but then, and it's a beautiful thing, you start to kind of get into a cruise control of it. Now there's two different types of cruise control. There's the cruise control where you are speeding and you're taking for granted that like there's no, highway patrol that's going to get you, right? That is a cruise
Mhm.
control that can be detrimental. If you cruise control and you're eating way more fat than you need, and you're eating way more carbohydrates than you need, and like maybe you've been like me and you've lost 170 pounds, well, 130-pound Rachel doesn't need the same amount of fuel as 300-pound Rachel, right? To keep that
Mhm.
same, body. So that's a negative cruise control. We probably want to adjust things. But then there's the cruise control that is just like, hey, this is just working, but it's kind of getting a little bit, outsiders might find it boring because maybe it's
Mhm.
just a lot of ground beef, or it's a go-to salad that you just make every morning. And I would say that over the years that has kind of happened for us, that it's like you use less almond flour. You bought all
Mhm.
the things, right? We don't use
Yep.
nearly the amount of hemp seeds that we
Right.
began eating, right? Like,
Yep.
and so it's okay that you start stocking a keto pantry with all of the things, and then you find that you don't utilize it 2 or 3 years later. That's okay. That's a natural thing.
Yes.
Hey, when you started the nursery for your children, you bought all of the stuff, right? Especially for the first kid. And then by the
Mm-hmm.
second kid, you're like, you don't have nearly as many things on the registry, right? Because you know some stuff is just superfluous and you're really
Yep.
not going to get around to using it. And so it doesn't mean that it's bad or that you aren't still going to buy it for a new mom that's having her first baby if she's got it on the registry, right? You're still cheering
Right.
her on. But for you, you maybe don't need as many things.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We call that meals on repeat. Like,
Right.
keep it simple. Keep it stupid simple. Keep it super simple. Keep
Right.
it simple.
Because you just don't want to have to throw out stuff. Because we used to buy a
Right.
lot of vegetables and we would find our place, like Aldi for us is a, discount supermarket. And you're like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, like this lettuce and this cucumber, everything is like super cheap. And so I'm just going to buy all the things. Well, we didn't have a backyard chicken flock back then. And so it really was just rotting in the refrigerator, like living rent free until it was time to throw it
Exactly.
out.
Exactly. That is the same thing I found when I was doing vegetables. And, sometimes even because not everybody in my house is carnivore like me, but if I buy vegetables, if I'm not cooking that within a day or two, it's done. It's gonna go in the trash. It's just gonna be waste.
Right.
So yeah, but I like the simplicity of this way of eating. And I agree with you because I feel like back when, you guys were starting on keto and I was starting on keto way back then, there weren't a lot of things that you could buy in the store. Like there were, they didn't have all the keto bars and the keto treats and the keto this and you had to buy all that stuff and make it yourself. So if you wanted keto dessert, you needed to make it yourself. I remember making like keto cornbread. I had the
Mm-hmm.
keto cornbread recipe perfected. And, I learned how to make keto stuffing for Thanksgiving. So I did all the things, but I found that over this last 3 years, I just don't need all that variety. And I don't need all of those different recipes anymore. So it's been the simplicity of it is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can just drift into a more carnivore way of eating just because it's
Mm-hmm.
easier. It's just easier
Yep.
to just grab and go. And I encourage that because what's happening is you have energy and like your mental focus is on other things. What a blessing, right? The Bible says that we're
Yes.
not supposed to focus on what you eat and what you wear. And yet you open up Instagram and it's like in all of social media is just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
only focus on that. How do you look in that
Yes.
outfit and what are you eating? And it should be interesting and colorful and Instagram worthy. But
Exactly.
I find that the simpler the food, the more time and energy that I have to do other things, right? Like the
Right.
living that the health is for, because your fuel, the food that you're eating is just fuel for you to go do the stuff that fulfills your purpose in life. Imagine if
Yes.
the whole fun of like a road trip was you just went to the gas station and you parked there and you just filled your tank with gas and you're like, all right, guys, are you guys having fun? We're having so much fun at the gas station, right? Because this is it. This is
Yes.
the road
Yes.
trip. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like pre-keto, that really was my life. That
Yes.
everything, all of my fun, all of our dating, as a husband and wife was with food. It was all about the
I
food.
completely agree.
And now we can have other interests. We can do things, have
Mm-hmm.
adventures. And
Yeah.
that's so nice. It's you have to change your mindset a little bit. Feels a little bit weird that maybe you're not spending so much time on Yelp looking at restaurants. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you're looking for new things like, hey, what's a museum that's local, or where's a hiking trail, or hey, let's get a stand-up paddleboard and start doing that, so
Yep.
you're just switching where your mental bandwidth goes.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, we spend a lot of time, and I think, when you're on the standard American diet, you have really the food obsession anyway, because the food is so highly addictive and you're always hungry, your insulin is high, making you just want, you have all these cravings, and it's just totally, so many people I have talked to have said, I mean, I feel like almost every single person that I've talked to has said, I was obsessed. I was thinking about my next meal while I was eating this meal. And I had that same thing with just the thoughts just going through my head about food 24/7. And that's
Well,
something that really, go
well,
ahead.
I was going to just say that, like, the marketing adds to that. Like, every
Yes.
movie you're watching, the product placement, the constant bombardment that, like, you can't have Halloween without these M&Ms, or you can't have
Hmm.
Christmas without this, or you can't have Easter without that Cadbury egg. Like, there's so much marketing. And what happens when you go keto or carnivore is you've unplugged from the matrix. I know that sounds weird and like
Yes.
aluminum foil
Yes.
hat here, but we've taken the red pill, in that we've taken the red meat pill, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, yeah, they're saying that I can't have Christmas, date night, celebrate my birthday, like honor my children being born I can have
Hmm.
a childhood unless I have all of these ingredients. I wonder if that's just to sell their product. And if I'm not consuming their product anymore, we could still have Christmas maybe, or Thanksgiving,
Yes.
or I could still
Hmm.
like go on a date night, and it doesn't have to be completely just about the food.
Absolutely, 100%. So a couple people said something, and I want to pop this up right here really quick. Antinorum is
Cool.
going to start carnivore next week.
Yay.
Congratulations. What a great choice. Keep us posted. Let us know how it's going and how we can support you for sure.
This is a great time of year to begin something like that, because we are getting into, like, I think about St. Patrick's Day, and you're getting into like Easter time and stuff. And so
Hmm.
you're going to start seeing those roasts. You're going to start seeing, like, all kinds of cuts of meat that are like
Hmm.
coming, cheap. And so
Yes.
you can stock your fridge, you can stock the freezer with that, and really be able to eat on that all year long.
Absolutely. I just did that at Christmas time. Like right after Christmas, ribeye went on sale. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to bite the bullet and buy a whole primal and just break
Mhm.
it down, cut it up myself. I'm just eating on that for the last couple of months. And it's been really awesome.
It's
So
nice.
get it when it's cheap.
You got so much time for other things. You really do.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
would advise you to find a cooking instrument of some sort that you feel like you can get better at using.
Yes.
Whether it is your air fryer, whether it is an Instapot, whether it is like treating yourself to a barbecue grill, which my husband calls a medical device,
Hmm.
because it's, that's our pharmaceuticals, right? Is our meat.
Yep. Yep.
Because then when you have a lovely experience with food every time at mealtime, going carnivore does not feel like you are deprived in any way. I feel like every single night, like I'm having a steak tonight with my beautiful mom. And so we treat ourselves to a beautiful cut of meat and cook up that steak lovely, and every single day we eat like your birthday meal, your anniversary meal, something
I,
really nice. So my advice would be like,
yes.
get good at cooking something so that you
Hmm.
really enjoy the experience.
I love that advice. Thank you so much. All right. So Uncle Charlie says that Butter Bob is going live tomorrow. I don't know about you, but I was super excited to see Butter Bob come make his comeback. I don't know if you
Yes.
know Butter Bob Briggs,
Yes.
the OG carnivore guy. Butter stick of butter makes your pants fall off. I've been talking about him recently, like, oh my gosh, I would talk because I tried the stick of butter a day challenge and stuff. Didn't really work for me, but it works for him.
Hey,
And
go for it.
yeah, so he's back, and it's so exciting. So he's going live tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
That's
You
wonderful.
guys catch him. And then Uncle Charlie says, also, I lost 150 pounds. Congratulations,
Way
Uncle
to
Charlie.
go, Uncle Charlie. That is awesome. I mean, your life has the opportunity to completely change. Um, we started RVing after we lost all the weight, because we did find that at first we had a smaller shirt size, but not a bigger life. We were continuing to sit on that couch and not do new things, but your whole life has changed. So go ahead and enjoy the adventure. Don't just enjoy the smaller size. That was a real big change for us. We wound up changing kind of like the thought of our channel to living beyond the couch. And that's really our focus, is that you don't have to live on the couch anymore. But sometimes it's so sad for me to see people lose amount, like all this weight. They've de-prescribed 18 medications. And it's like, what are you doing this weekend? Nothing. So make sure you're going out there and enjoying that newfound freedom that you have.
That's so funny, because I remember you guys had a segment on your show called Keto on the Couch.
Yes. And so we've actually changed it. Now our Monday show is called Keto Beyond the Couch, because we want to kind of emphasize that people are, you do something with that newfound health.
I love it. I mean, it's growth, right? So as we're going along, we're not going to stay newborn babies like, the entire time. We're going to keep growing and keep changing and keep being able to do more, which is really awesome. I love what you said about, spending time and doing different kinds of things, because that's kind of what my husband and I, we've been doing date night on Friday night, every Friday night since we got married, which has been almost 18 years ago. And so, yeah. And so but it was always about what restaurant are we going to go to? We're always going to dinner, but lately it's been like, I would rather cook at home, because I know what's going to be in the food. I know exactly what I'm going to put on it, what I'm going to cook it in. I don't have to worry about the seed oils and all of that stuff. But let's go to Barnes and Noble and read a book. Or let's go, like last weekend, we went to the mall and walked in the mall. So it's just doing something different than, a totally different mindset than having to always go out and eat. So
it really gives you an opportunity to, like, we're not done learning about our spouse. There's just so much fun to be had, that letting go of the way that we used to date is a powerful thing, because we can try new things and go back to when we were dating and we did all kinds of different stuff, right? Like your dates were all about like being creative, whether it was like painting or goonie golf or bowling. And so, for us, one of the things that we started doing was even like disc golfing, because a lot of like area parks have it, or, the disc golf course already there. All you need to buy is a Frisbee. We're not trying to say like you need to take out a home equity loan to begin dating your spouse.
Right.
But like, get a board game, go to Walmart, go to Target, grab a card game, get a puzzle and try it. And it's funny because so many people are like, well, I don't want stuff to clutter up my home, so I don't know if I want to go do those things. But here's the thing. When we would go out to eat, you didn't take home your plate. You would discard those things. When we used to buy donuts and things with wrappers on them, we wouldn't keep the wrapper to like cherish the memory of the donut, right? We would let that go. So if you're like, hey, we played this card game, it was fun for tonight, but I don't want a bunch of clutter, or like you're going and you're getting a book and you read the book, you don't need to hold on to it if you don't want. Pass it to somebody else, donate it to a thrift store. And because you paid your money for that, you had the great experience. And this is an experience that, it could be disposable if you need it to not clutter your life, but it's not going to inflame your life either, which is nice.
That's awesome. Christy is here at Meeting Wellness. The recipes are what made it easy for my son to switch over to carnivore after he watched me for a year. Now he's thriving and doesn't use the recipes. Now that's awesome. I think Christy's son may be 14 at this time, or 14 or 15 years old. Started carnivore. Started carnivore. I think he's kind of started a little bit keto, but that was awesome. It changed his life. It literally changed his life.
What a blessing. And it never hurts my feelings when someone says, hey, I've drifted away from that. I don't utilize those recipes as much. That's okay. That is good. That doesn't hurt, my feelings. I hope that people stay for the community aspect of it, because, this really should be a community of mentorship that, even if you're not using that, you can say, hey, I tweaked this in a little way back when I utilized it, and this can be something that can be a blessing to others. Like, we share that wisdom, we pass it down, and I'm always excited that if I can be a stepping stone in your keto journey or your carnivore journey as you go from here to there, I'm that thrills my heart. We're always pleased to be on the welcome mat when someone is crossing over from the standard American diet into a fat-fueled way of living, and we can help them with that transition. And then, not everybody follows the trajectory of like carnivore and stays there. Sometimes people try to maybe run before they've really got the walk down. And so maybe they have a little bit of stumble that, keto is really working. They'll go carnivore and then kind of fall off the wagon there because maybe they, eliminated some things too quickly for them to actually authentically sustain that. And so, hey, come on back. We still gonna be here. And we can help you as you're going up the kind of the ladder of rungs.
Completely agree. I mean, this is the long game, right? We are in a marathon. We are not in a sprint. And so I always my new like hashtag, one of them is like hashtag never starting over again, because I used to start over all the time. Like I would turn around and I have to start over again. And I'm like, that's not the life that I want. This is a lifestyle. This is a complete life change as far as my nutrition and as far as my health is concerned. So I'm never starting over ever again. And so wherever you are, like if you fell off, just next meal. On. Yeah, just get right back on.
And you find that there is a groove that's like an easier onboard ramp for you. I like to say that it's like a beach, and you bring your umbrella and your chair and your towel and your keys and stuff, and you plant yourself someplace, and then you go out to the ocean. And sometimes you drift further than you intend, but you look and you see like, where is my stuff? Where is it? Where it's like the easy on ramp for me again. And you just swim back to that place. And that's where you may be, most comfortable. Sometimes you try to drift and be like, hey, let me do a little bit of an elimination and see if that, moves the needle when I need it. Or if I'm trying to work on something, sometimes thankfully, it's not just for a weight issue. Sometimes we're trying to fix other things that's in our health that we're ready to like turn our attention to. And you may need to follow an elimination protocol for a little bit of time to get some data back in your N=1 experiment. And that's okay. Thank God this is a spectrum, that this fat-fueled life has got plenty of room for you to move back and forth, whether you're traveling, whether there's a season of life where you need to adjust things. Maybe there is a change in your bank account, or there's a change in the world as far as like prices. And so you can adjust. There's a spectrum that you can work with. And that's an awesome, beautiful thing.
It really, really is. It, when people talk about this way being so restrictive, I'm like, I'm a little mind boggled by that. Actually, now that I've been doing it, it is a little bit, it's a paradigm shift for sure. Going from a standard American to any kind of ketogenic way of eating. But there's so much flexibility there. Like, I think about the way that I eat. I pretty much eat only meat. I do have coffee. So some people would say I'm not a carnivore, but I am. And, but there's lots of, as you said, there's lots of room in the spectrum of what you could do within your ketogenic way of eating. But I think the primary thing is that it's a fat-fueled, as you have been saying, it's fat-fueled, a fat-fueled way of eating. So we have been kind of taught that fat is dangerous. It's going to clog your arteries, going to give you a heart attack. What would you say to someone who is having those kinds of thoughts around increasing their fat?
I know that it's a challenge because we have this word association with like fat on our body. Like we associate that with like dietary fat. And so we're like, I don't want to be fat anymore. So why would I consume fat? Or I have fat to lose. And so I don't want to eat fat. That's going to make a bad situation worse, isn't it? But no, if you are fat fueled, what happens with fuel? It gets used up, right? That's a good thing. And you don't keep it all. You're going to use dietary fat every day to prime that pump so that your body remembers, oh, this is what we eat. And in those times where you're asleep and your body is still hungry, you're not doing what you used to do, getting up and going to the refrigerator and topping off so that you can get through the rest of your night. But your body can eat you. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but
that's it.
In times that hey, I'm at work, you can go the whole day at work and your body is snacking on you when it needs a pick me up. And again, your brain needs fat. Your brain needs cholesterol. And so particularly for people who suffer with depression, anxiety, if that's something that's been a part of your life, I'm going to tell you, fat. It's interesting. A lot of the pharmaceuticals that were prescribed for me are also pharmaceuticals that are prescribed for people who have epilepsy. That's not that's not far off, right? So that there's a reason why somebody with epilepsy might be prescribed Xanax. And then Xanax is also something for somebody who is prone to, panic attacks, I previously struggled with. And this fat fueled way of eating is something that was often prescribed to people, really began being prescribed to use with children who had, seizure issues. So we need fat. Fat is not a bad word, just like insulin is not a bad word. Sometimes we're afraid of that, right? What we're trying to do is not, insulin is a beautiful hormone that God gave us. He didn't make a mistake with the insulin. It's just that we have pushed that button too much and too often. It's kind of like if we want somebody to knock on the door and let us know they're at our front door. But what if you have somebody that's knocking on your door constantly all day, all night, right? You would want to, you'd create a sensitivity to it too, right? Because it's too much, too much, a resistance. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that analogy. I really, really do. Couple more of these. Okay, so I just want to say that Christy, she corrected me. Her son is now 17.
Oh,
amazing. What has happened with him has been incredible. And then Lions Carnivore podcast. Welcome. Just came across the channel and immediately subscribed. So glad that you are here. We love this topic too. Thank you. All right. So, couple more. Are you doing any supplementation? And if so, what kinds of supplements do you take or recommend, or what things do we need?
It's really boring at this point, right? The supplementation that we recommend is electrolytes. That's really it. Salt, potassium, magnesium. If you live in a winter state, maybe it's a little bit harder for you to get to vitamin D than maybe vitamin D. But for us in Florida, which is usually sunny, this winter has been pretty cold. We can kind of get in a lot of vitamin D, and I thrive in it. That's another thing that if you are somebody that struggles with anxiety, depression, vitamin D may be an issue. I find that it has really helped to continue my brain health journey, is that coupling of sunshine, really being true to your circadian rhythm. We need to get up early, we need to get up with the light, and we need to go to bed with the dark. And I know that it's hard, again, where it's very anti-society, right? This modern day, you're very counterculture if you are not constantly using screens, if you are getting up with the sun, if you are going to bed in the evening time and not allowing yourself to be constantly bombarded by light and activity, and allowing your brain to really reboot. It's challenging, but I'm going to tell you, it really moves the needle. We do a lot of outsourcing to supplementation, I think. If somebody can tell me that I could have health and I just chew on this gummy and it replaces exercise or sunshine. It's going to make me feel fantastic. And I feel like everything that's in that medicine cabinet or pantry is doing the job for me. So I don't really have to, we did that with like the 1-a-day vitamin, right? Because it was like, it was doing all the things. So I can eat like a dumpster fire because it's going to give me all of this stuff. Now, I don't know if any of this is actually bioavailable, right? Or if my body is actually turning these rocks into something, but I'm taking it, and we'll pay good money to outsource that. But if you are really eating a nutrient dense, meat forward diet, especially if you are leveraging ruminant animals like cows, deer, you're eating that buffalo, right? You're eating lamb, goat, that sort of stuff. Like, you are getting all of the nutrients that Vitamin Shop is promising, and they're happy to take your money. But like, I like just getting it all done together. Now, if you're somebody like me that's not a huge fan of organ meat, then I would say maybe if you get some of those like dehydrated liver where they're doing the job and they're just putting it in the capsules. We're actually going to be making a video of that soon, because you can do it yourself, because sometimes that will have a premium price also. But that is something that if you need kind of some help with that, you want to get that organ meat in, I would say supplement that with a company that you're just getting dehydrated organs in a capsule. Or if you do something like a cow share, or you can buy the organ separate and then mix it into your ground beef, that can be a way that you get it in by supplementing that way. But electrolytes is pretty much the only thing that we kind of talk about, really.
Yeah. I talk a lot about electrolytes too, because I feel like that's something that, particularly for those that are transitioning from a standard American diet into a ketogenic way of eating, the keto flu, which so many people suffered from, it's literally like
Electrolyte
optional.
imbalance. Yeah.
It's optional. So we want to.
It's funny. I see Rick is here. I was actually going to mention Rick. Hello, beautiful friend. I just actually recently met him when we were out with Dr. Kiltz. He's a Floridian too. And so when we were sharing about that individual, that their teenager is now like 17 years old. I know Rick is somebody that began a carnivore way of eating when I believe he was 15. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rick. And so I was getting excited as that parent is sharing that they have a 15-year-old, 17-year-old that's already beginning this way of eating, because what a different adulthood this person is going to have the blessing of enjoying. So awesome. When I was chatting with Rick recently, I was asking him if it's weird, talking to people, relating to people, because he's been, carnivore since like the 80s. And so he was talking about how one of the biggest challenges was relating to people his age, because he hasn't known aches and pains. He hasn't been to like the doctor since like the 90s, because he's just been nourishing his body like super appropriately. And I think about how, you can't look backward and just regret that doesn't really help you. I wish I could go back in time, certainly, and feed my 3 boys differently, because the outcome would be differently. But instead of kicking my own butt, I get excited about empowering parents and grandparents so that we can have the outcome like this precious 15-year-old, 17-year-old carnivore who we know is going to be able to live out an adulthood that is different and that is full of wellness and health and a clear mind. What a blessing.
That is so awesome. And I just have to give Rick just a little kudos for the heart attack style chicken, because chicken heart attack style is my jam. It's so good. I love it. I love my heart attack style meats. So thank you, Rick, for that. And somebody's asking, what about chicken livers? Do you ever use any of that?
Definitely we do. So something that, this is not something everybody has to do, but in our desire to maintain sustainability, we actually moved from South Florida to the middle of the state, Arcadia, so that we could live on, we have about 7 acres of land here and we raise our own meat now. And so,
Nice.
because, you know, if you know, this is it, we're in this for life. For me, this is brain health. For my husband, this is mobility. There is no going back. There is no like, well, you know, if you have a hurricane, maybe you're going to go grab those cans of chunky soup. We're not doing that. This is it for life. And so one of the things that, you know, we call the gateway drug of farming is chickens. Because they just make every farmer look like a rock star because they're just they're easy and they're delightful and lovely and have wonderful personalities and are easy to care for. And so we did start raising out our own meat birds. Different, you know, breeds of chickens. And so as we process our chickens, we do harvest all of those, you know, the neck, the heart, the liver, you know, and that can be something that you can use. And we do find that the easiest way for us to incorporate that is using like an Instapot type of thing, just, you know, cooking that up into your bone broth. Can make it a little bit more palatable. We will go to the Brazilian steakhouse and they'll bring out those chicken, you know, hearts on a skewer. And the chewy, weird consistency is not it for me. Personal preference. I'm just like, you know, you do it as like a dare with a bunch of carnivores around the table, but like, that's not my fave. And so I would much rather have it in kind of like a pate or add it to my bone broth. You know, and because like once all those organs are all kind of broken down, I can just stick the immersion blender right into the Instapot, and I don't even have to see what any of those little organs look like. I like it.
Oh, that sounds so yummy. Well, we've been here for over an hour. Do you have a couple more minutes? I want to kind of go through a speed round with you if you got time for that.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do the speed round. All right. So I got 5 questions.
Okay.
Butter or tallow?
Butter. Tallow for my face, though. I like that as like a cold cream. But butter on everything.
Okay, ribeye or ground beef?
Ribeye.
Me too. Same here.
I just love ribeye. My husband likes New York strip, and I can't believe we're married. I can't believe I married a man who would always prefer New York strip over ribeye. Like, okay.
Yeah. I like New York strip, but I love ribeye.
I mean, if they're just handing it to me, I'm taking the ribeye, right? Dr. Kiltz had a bunch of ribeyes that you guys are having a local meetup soon, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm going to show that after we get done with the speed round. Okay. Nice. OMAD or too mad?
Too mad.
Me too.
Too mad.
With too mad is most for me as well. Okay. What is the most overrated keto product?
Almond flour. Followed closely by cauliflower. We are making those 2 ingredients work so hard. They can't be all the things. Like I'm expecting like we're gonna start patching roofs with it and driveways. Like it's a pizza, it's a bread. It's like we need to stop. We need to stop. It's oh my god. It's an almond.
Yes, it is an almond. Oh, that is awesome. Okay. What is one thing that you wish you would have known at the beginning when we're getting started?
That the first thing that you need to do is decide that you are going to begin liking you, that you are going to love yourself, that you are going to honor the fact that God created you and he has a purpose and a plan for your life. He didn't make a mistake with you. You are uniquely you, and you are worthy of investment. You are not striving for worthiness. You're not going to like get that weight off or get healthy and then you'll be worth loving. You need to love yourself right now, because that was something that I needed to circle back to. I thought that when I had a body that fit into a certain size, I would just naturally start liking myself. but there were years of self-loathing because I attached so much worth to the way that I looked and how I fell short of what I felt like was the movie and television and magazine standard. And so I think that's the first thing that I would do is decide I'm going to love me because God loves
Mhm.
me first. And I'm just going to be the second person in line to love me. And then I'd say right shortly behind that would be move your body as you are changing the way that you're eating. Just go ahead and habit stack. As if you've ever read Atomic Habits, I love
Mhm.
that book. It's easier
Yes.
to stack habits. So if you're already changing up stuff, go ahead and finish your new dinner that looks completely different than it did before with a walk around the block, because it can be really hard to decide, oh, I also have to start working on moving my body. Because when I started
Right.
keto, you could lose weight without moving. And so I had to go back and decide to start moving. And that was a challenge too.
You know, that's so interesting. I totally agree with you because we were really sort of like of the mindset that you're going to lose all this weight without doing any exercise. You don't have to
Right.
exercise at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
move your
why,
body. I
where
love
that
that.
came from,
I don't know
or
where that
that,
came.
or that we would celebrate it. That we would
Right.
celebrate. That was like, oh,
Right.
thank goodness I don't
We
have
don't
to
have to
go.
work out.
Dude,
We don't even have to move. We can just sit on the couch and lose all of our weight. I love
what a
it. I
great
love it.
life.
Yeah, right. All right, you guys. So we are out of time, but before we go, I'm going to just share my screen and tell you guys about Impact Meetup and Eat Up with Carnivorous Grandma and friends. It's going to be right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The date is September 5th, 2026. And as you can see, we've got Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Nelson, Nurse Laura, we got Ariana, we got the Meat Man, Carrie and Emma will be here. Happy Sexy Health. We got Meet Julia, we got George and Lainey coming over from the UK, and Rockin' Coach Amy also coming over from the UK. I mean, no, Rockin' Coach Amy is in the US. So people are coming from all over the world to be part of this meetup, and I would love to see you there. You can scan that QR code, or you can go to my website, which is carnivorousgrama.com, and get your tickets for the Impact Meetup. And also, I want to let you know that tomorrow night is my carniversary. Tomorrow is my 3-year carniversary. I'm so
Congratulations.
excited. I will be live for just a little bit tomorrow, just to kind of give a summary about that 3 years and how it's gone, and just celebrate a little bit the fact that I made it to 3 years on carnivore. It's pretty awesome. And
Worthy of celebrating.
yes. And Monday night, I will be here again with Hey Sister Girl Show with G. And so come and join us at 7:00 p.m. for Hey Sister Girl. All right, everybody. So, Rachel, I want to let you have the last word, and then we're going to click the end stream button.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to chat with you tonight. And my final thought is just know you are so loved. Everybody watching, you are so loved. And we just appreciate this time with you today.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.